The holographic projection of Earth's most dangerous predators flickered to life in the lecture hall, casting an eerie blue glow across the faces of 37 Zaxian students. Professor Glorn adjusted his ocular enhancers and cleared his throat sacs with a reverberating thrum that silenced the murmuring class. "Today," the professor announced, tapping his data wand against the projector, "we begin our most important unit in Xenobiology 403, Earth's Apex Predators and Survival Strategies." Klax, a diligent third-year student with pale green skin and 4 attentive eyes, leaned forward in his seat. Unlike his classmates who viewed this course as a mere elective, Klax had dreams of becoming a xenobiologist on the upcoming diplomatic mission to Earth. He had studied humans extensively, their physiology, their societies, their peculiar habits, but this specific topic had him genuinely concerned. The professor expanded the first hologram. The Panthera tigris, or tiger, note the massive muscular structure, razor-sharp claws, and specialized killing dentition. A single swipe can eviscerate prey larger than the average Zaxian. They are ambush predators with excellent night vision and can consume up to 40 Earth pounds of flesh in a single feeding. Several students visibly recoiled. One in the back made a soft, whimpering noise. Next, the Ursus arctos, or brown bear. The hologram shifted to show a massive creature standing on hind legs. Standing nearly 3 meters tall with jaws powerful enough to crush bone and claws that can disembowel with minimal effort. They are territorial, aggressive when threatened, and possess remarkable intelligence. Klax dutifully recorded every detail in his neural implant, categorizing each creature by lethality rating and attack method. The list continued. Crocodiles with bite forces exceeding any machinery on Zaxia, venomous snakes that could kill within minutes, wolves that hunted in organized packs, great white sharks with multiple rows of serrated teeth, and more. Each description was accompanied by horrifying attack statistics and gruesome footage of the creatures feeding in their natural habitats. By the time Professor Glorn reached the 20th predator, something called a Komodo dragon, with toxic bacteria, laden saliva, Klax was beginning to question his career choices. "And finally," the professor said, "while not traditionally viewed as predators in the same category, we must address the apex predator of Earth humans themselves." The hologram displayed a hairless biped with minimal natural defenses. "Do not be deceived by their unassuming appearance," Professor Glorn warned. "They have systematically dominated every ecosystem on their planet through tool use, adaptive intelligence, and remarkable endurance. They are the most dangerous species on the planet, responsible for the extinction or endangerment of countless other species." Klax blinked his 4 eyes in succession. How could these fragile-looking creatures be more dangerous than the monstrosities they'd just reviewed? "For your final assignment," Professor Glorn announced, "you will be traveling to the Earth observation station to view footage of human interactions with these predators. Your analysis report will constitute 60% of your final grade." Anxiety rippled through Klax's body, causing his chromatophores to shift to a pale yellow. The Earth observation station was reserved for advanced students, and the prospect of seeing actual humans interacting with these terrifying creatures filled him with both dread and excitement. After class, Klax hurried back to his dormitory pod, passing under the purple-tinged sky of Zaxia Prime. His roommate, Vrel, was sprawled across his relaxation mat, all 6 limbs splayed out in typical lazy fashion. "You look stressed," Vrel noted, one eye stalk swiveling toward Klax while the others remained fixed on an entertainment holo-vid. "Glorn's predator lecture? We're going to the Earth station," Klax replied, setting down his neural transmitter, "to watch humans and Earth predators interact." Vrel sat up abruptly, his eye stalks fully extended in surprise. "Seriously, I took xenobiology last cycle and we just had to write a simulation program. Glorn must be really pushing your class." It's because of the upcoming diplomatic mission, Klax explained. More students are focusing on Earth specializations now. Well, you better prepare yourself, Vrel said, his voice dropping to a more serious tone. My clutchmate worked maintenance at the observation station last cycle, said the footage they have of human-predator interactions is disturbing. Disturbing how? Vrel's skin rippled in the Zaxian equivalent of a shudder. Humans don't just hunt the predators, sometimes they do other things, incomprehensible things. This only intensified Klax's curiosity. What could be more incomprehensible than hunting creatures designed by evolution to be perfect killing machines? 3 days later, Klax and 20 other students crowded into the small shuttle that would take them to the Earth observation station orbiting Zaxia Prime. The station was a joint project between the Zaxian Science Academy and the Galactic Coalition, designed to study Earth from a safe distance before official first contact was established. Dr. Zeph, the station's director, greeted them in the main observation deck. Unlike Professor Glorn, who had only studied Earth through data transmissions, Dr. Zeph had the distinguished honor of having actually visited Earth as part of a covert research team. Welcome, students, Dr. Zeph said, her voice modulator adjusted to a formal academic tone. Today, you will observe footage that has been collected over 15 Earth years. This footage is uncensored and may challenge your understanding of human behavior. She gestured to a circular viewing area where comfortable observation pods awaited each student. We have compiled interaction footage for each of the predator species you studied in Professor Glorn's class. You will have 4 hours to view and analyze the material. Klax settled into his pod, his 4 eyes blinking with anticipation as the neural interface connected to his implant. The viewing screen flickered to life, and he selected the first predator on the list, the tiger. The footage began with what he expected humans hunting tigers with projectile weapons from a safe distance. This aligned with the logical behavior for dealing with such a dangerous predator. But then the footage shifted to something entirely unexpected. A human female was sitting inside an enclosure, and a full-grown tiger approached her. Klax's heart pumps accelerated in anticipation of the impending attack. But instead of mauling the human, the tiger nuzzled against her, and the human wrapped her arms around the massive predator's neck in what Klax recognized as a human hug. Klax blinked rapidly in confusion. He checked the species identification to confirm this was indeed a tiger, the same creature Professor Glorn had described as capable of eviscerating prey with a single swipe. More footage played, humans scratching tigers behind the ears, tigers playfully rolling on their backs, humans feeding tigers by hand. In one clip, a human male named William Young was actually sleeping beside a full-grown tiger, his head resting on the predator's flank. Klax's confusion deepened as he moved to the next predator, the brown bear. Again, there was footage of humans hunting bears, which made sense. But then came clips of humans approaching bears in the wild, feeding them, and even wrestling with captive bears as some form of entertainment. One clip showed a different human male, this one labeled Walter Yates' hand, feeding a massive brown bear pieces of fruit. The bear took the food gently from the human's flat palm, its deadly jaws just centimeters from fragile human flesh. By the time Klax had gone through half the list, he was thoroughly bewildered. Wolves that should have torn humans apart were instead living in human dwellings, being called good boy and receiving belly rubs. Large constrictor snakes were being handled like accessories, draped around human necks. Even crocodiles in certain footage allowed humans to touch them and sit on their armored backs. Klax's neural implant was filling with confused notations, question marks, and requests for clarification. This behavior contradicted everything they had been taught about predator-prey relationships and survival strategies. Then he noticed a pattern. The predators that humans cuddled, pet, and treated as companions seemed to have been raised from youth by humans or had extensive interaction with them. The same species in the wild were treated with appropriate caution. He was deep in analysis of this phenomenon when Dr. Zeff's voice came through the communication system. "Students, please proceed to the conference room for discussion before returning to campus." In the conference room, Klax could see he wasn't the only one disturbed by the footage. Several students had turned a sickly shade of yellow-green, and one was being treated for minor stress-induced chromatophore lock. "I understand today's observations have been challenging, Doctor." Zeff began once everyone was seated. "Your confused reactions are normal and expected. What you have witnessed appears to contradict basic survival logic." A student raised a trembling limb. "Is the footage authentic? Could it be manipulated?" "The footage is entirely authentic, Doctor." Zeff confirmed. "Humans do indeed form bonds with predatory species that by all rational analysis should result in their immediate death." Another student spoke up. "But why? Why would they take such risks?" Dr. Zeff's eye stalks contracted slightly, the Zaxian equivalent of a thoughtful expression. "Humans have a complex relationship with danger. They appear to derive pleasure from forming connections with potentially lethal creatures. They call it taming or domestication, but it goes beyond simple behavioral conditioning. There seems to be an emotional component we don't fully understand." Klax raised his hand. "I noticed that many of the cuddled predators were raised from infancy by humans. Could that explain the aberrant behavior?" "Excellent observation, Klax," Dr. Zeff replied. "That is indeed a factor. However, even adult wild predators sometimes display unexpected non-aggressive behavior towards certain humans. We have documented cases of wild wolves accepting humans into their packs, orphaned predator cubs being raised by humans, and even traditional enemies in the wild forming social bonds in human care." The discussion continued, but Klax found himself only half listening. A new and radical idea was forming in his mind. What if this behavior wasn't irrational at all? What if humans possessed some quality that transcended normal predator-prey relationships? After returning to campus, Klax spent days analyzing his observations, reviewing additional footage and formulating his theory. When it came time to submit his analysis report, he decided to take a risk with his conclusion. Professor Glorn's reaction was swift. "Klax, I need to speak with you about your report," came the message on his neural communicator. In the professor's office, surrounded by specimens from a dozen worlds, Klax sat nervously as Glorn reviewed the report again. "You've proposed," Glorn said slowly, "that humans' ability to form bonds with predators isn't just a quirk or a death wish, but an evolutionary advantage that helped them become Earth's dominant species." "Yes, Professor," Klax replied, his skin shifting to a more confident blue. "The evidence suggests humans used this ability to transform wolves into domestic dogs over thousands of years, creating the first symbiotic relationship with a predator species. This partnership gave them hunting advantages, protection, and eventually led to similar relationships with other species." Glorn's eye stalks extended, fully a sign of surprise or intense interest. "And you believe this? Emotional connection is what makes humans dangerous, not their technology or intelligence alone?" "I believe it's a crucial component," Klax said. "Humans don't just conquer through force, they convert enemies into allies. They see potential connections where other species see only threats. It's not just about domestication, it's about their ability to empathize with species completely unlike themselves." The professor was silent for a long moment. Finally, he said, "Your analysis is unorthodox but intriguing. However, theory is one thing, observation is another. I'm recommending you for the practical component of this course." Klax's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession. "Practical component." "Yes," Glorn confirmed. "A small group of advanced students will be visiting the Earth Diplomatic Preparation Outpost. Real humans are there, training our diplomats. you'll have the opportunity to observe human-predator interactions firsthand. Excitement and terror fought for dominance in Klax's mind. Real humans. Not just recordings or data, but living, breathing specimens of Earth's dominant species. 2 weeks later, Klax found himself aboard an interstellar shuttle bound for the Earth Diplomatic Preparation Outpost. The outpost was situated on a small moon in a neutral system, designed to mimic Earth conditions and serve as a training ground for the upcoming First Contact mission. 5 other students had been selected for this extraordinary opportunity, along with Professor Glorn and Dr. Zeph as supervisors. As they approached the outpost, Dr. Zeph gathered them for a final briefing. The humans at this facility are aware of your visit and have agreed to demonstrate various interactions with Earth species, she explained. There are currently 8 humans stationed here, along with several Earth predator species kept in a specialized habitat section. You will observe from a safe distance. Will we be able to communicate with the humans? Asked Trex, another student. Limited communication only, Dr. Zeph replied. Our translation technology is still being refined, but simple concepts can be exchanged. Remember your cultural sensitivity, training no sudden movements, no direct staring with all eyes simultaneously, and absolutely no unauthorized sampling of human biological material. The shuttle docked smoothly at the outpost, and after a brief decontamination process, the Zaxian group was led through a series of airlocks into the main facility. Klax could feel his pulse quickening as they approached the human section, and then there they were. Humans. Real humans, not holograms or recordings. They were both more and less impressive than Klax had imagined. Taller than the average Zaxian but with fewer limbs, no apparent chromatophore control, and oddly exposed sensory organs. They wore artificial coverings over most of their body's clothes, his neural implant supplied. One of the humans stepped forward. He was taller than the others, with a patch of facial hair and coverings over his ocular organs. "Welcome," he said, the translation device converting his sounds into understandable Zaxian. "I am William Young, head biologist for the outpost. We're excited to share our work with you." Dr. Zeph performed the formal Zaxian greeting. "We appreciate your willingness to participate in this educational exchange. The students are particularly interested in human interactions with Earth predator species." William Young's face contorted in what Klax recognized as a smile, a human expression of positive emotion. "Then you're in for a treat," he said. "We've brought several species with us for research and companionship. If you'll follow me to the Habitat Wing, we can begin the demonstrations." The Habitat Wing was an impressive feat of engineering, a climate-controlled environment divided into sections that mimicked different Earth ecosystems. Through transparent barriers, Klax could see a variety of Earth flora and smaller fauna. "First," William said, stopping before a habitat door, "I'd like to introduce you to Sasha." The door slid open and William stepped into the habitat. A moment later, a massive brown blur lunged toward him. Several Zaxian students recoiled in alarm, their skin flashing warning colors. But the blur resolved into a brown bear, one of the deadliest predators on their list, and instead of attacking, it stopped before William and rose onto its hind legs in what looked like an embrace. Sasha was rescued as a cub, William explained as he rubbed the bear's ears. Her mother was killed by poachers, illegal hunters. She's been with us for 6 years now. Klax watched in fascination as the human interacted with the bear as casually as a Zaxian might interact with a harmless petable pet. The bear showed no signs of aggression. In fact, it seemed to be enjoying the attention. "Would any of you like to see her up close?" William asked. The Zaxian students exchanged nervous glances. Finally, Klax stepped forward. "I would," he said, his voice steady despite his racing heart pumps. William nodded and gestured for Klax to approach the transparent barrier. "Stay there for now. Let her see and smell you first." The bear ambled over, its massive paws making surprisingly little noise on the synthetic ground cover. It sniffed curiously at the barrier separating it from Klax, its small eyes studying him with what seemed like intelligence. "She's curious," William explained. "Bears are incredibly smart and have excellent memories. Sasha here can recognize over 100 different commands and has a problem-solving ability comparable to a human 3-year-old. And she doesn't try to eat you," one of the other students asked. William laughed, a barking sound that startled several Zaxians. "No, she knows me as family." That's the key to understanding how humans interact with predators. We form social bonds that transcend the normal predator-prey relationship. Not all predators are capable of this, and not all individuals within a species, but many can recognize social bonds across species lines. Over the next 2 hours, the Zaxian students were introduced to more of Earth's predators. A gray wolf named Luna who performed tricks on command, a python named Monty that William draped around his shoulders like an accessory, and a small wildcat that purred loudly when petted. For each creature, William or one of the other humans explained how the relationship had been established, the trust built, and the boundaries maintained. "It's important to understand," a human female named Rachel Blackwood explained as she hand-fed raw meat to a small wildcat, "that we don't treat these animals as if they aren't predators. We respect what they are. We don't pretend they're harmless, we just build relationships where their predatory nature isn't directed at us." Klax was taking detailed notes, his theory about human emotional connection abilities gaining support with each demonstration. But the most impressive demonstration was yet to come. "Now," William said, leading them to a larger habitat area, "I'd like to show you something special. This is what we call enrichment time with our big cats." Through the observation window, the Zaxians watched as 2 humans entered an enclosure containing 2 full-grown tigers. The tigers immediately bounded over, but instead of attacking, they rubbed against the humans like oversized house cats, making deep, rumbling sounds. "Those are actual tigers?" Professor Glorn asked, his disbelief evident. "The same species you showed us in the danger briefings." "The very same," William confirmed. "Raja and Zara were rescued from an illegal private collection. They were raised by humans from cubs but still retain all their natural predatory instincts. They hunt in their enclosure and display all normal tiger behaviors. They just also accept certain humans as part of their social group." The Zaxians watched in stunned silence as the humans actually wrestled playfully with the tigers, scratched their bellies, and allowed the massive predators to gently mouth their arms without breaking skin. "This behavior contradicts everything we understand about predator-prey dynamics, Doctor," Zeph said, her scientific curiosity clearly engaged. "In our evolutionary history, such proximity to predators would always result in predation." William nodded. "That's what makes human relationships with predators unique. We're not just prey that got lucky. We specifically cultivate these relationships, sometimes over generations. Dogs' domesticated wolves are the most successful example, but many predator species can form these bonds under the right circumstances." After the demonstrations, the humans invited the Zaxian group to a discussion session. Klax found himself seated across from William, still processing everything he had witnessed. "I have a question," Klax said when it was his turn to speak. "Does this ability to bond with predators extend to how humans might interact with other intelligent species? With us, for example?" William's expression became more serious. "That's a profound question. I believe it does. Humans have a long, complicated history of conflict among ourselves, but also an impressive capacity for forming alliances and friendships across what might seem like natural boundaries. Our empathy, our ability to imagine ourselves in another's position, can extend beyond our species. Even though we must look as alien to you as those predators initially looked to us," Klax pressed. William smiled again. "Especially so, humans are curious by nature. Different doesn't mean dangerous to us, it means interesting. That's why I became a xenobiologist. I want to understand life in all its forms. The discussion continued late into the evening, with humans and Zaxians exchanging ideas and observations. Klax noticed that just as humans had formed bonds with Earth predators, they seemed to be forming connections with the Zaxian students as well. The initial fear and awkwardness had given way to genuine intellectual exchange. When it was time for the Zaxian group to depart, William approached Klax privately. "Your questions were insightful," the human said. "Have you considered applying for the cultural exchange program after first contact is established? We need more xenobiologists who understand both sides." Klax felt his chromatophores shift to a pleased purple. "I hadn't thought it possible, but yes, I would be very interested." "Good," William replied. "The universe is full of creatures that might initially seem dangerous to each other. We need bridge builders." As the shuttle departed from the outpost, Klax gazed back at the facility where humans lived alongside creatures that should, by all logical analysis, have been their mortal enemies. His report would need significant revision, but his core theory remained intact. Humans didn't just conquer their world through force or intelligence, they did it through an extraordinary ability to connect with other species, even potential predators. And if they could turn tigers and bears into companions, what might they accomplish with species capable of actual communication? Back at the Zaxian Science Academy, Klax's revised report caused a minor sensation in the xenobiology department. Professor Glorn invited him to present his findings to the entire faculty, including representatives from the diplomatic corps who were preparing for humanity's official welcome to the galactic community. The implications of Klax's observations extend beyond biology into diplomatic strategy, Professor Glorn told the assembled academics. If humans can form bonds with species evolved to view them as prey, their potential for interspecies relations may exceed our current models. After the presentation, senior diplomat Vex approached Klax. "Your analysis has given us much to consider. The traditional approach to new species involves careful distance and neutral engagement, but perhaps with humans, a more direct social approach might be more effective." "They do seem to respond positively to openness," Klax agreed. "Their comfort with potential danger might make our usual caution seem standoffish to them." 6 months later, as the first official Zaxian delegation prepared to visit Earth, Klax received a special communication. He had been selected as a junior xenobiologist for the mission, specifically to assist with cultural understanding and interpretation of human behavior. The night before departure, Vrel visited Klax's dormitory to help him pack. "I still can't believe you're actually going to Earth," Vrel said, passing Klax various scientific instruments. "Aren't you terrified? A planet full of creatures that can eat you and humans who cuddle those creatures." Klax carefully stored his neural enhancer. "I was terrified at first. But I've been studying human social bonding extensively. They're not reckless, they're relationship builders. That tiger doesn't see William as prey because they have a social bond that overrides the predatory instinct. And you think humans will form that kind of bond with Zaxians?" Vrel asked skeptically. "They already have in small ways," Klax replied. "The humans at the outpost showed all the signs of forming preliminary social bonds with our group. They're curious, open, and surprisingly adaptable." Vrel helped close the containment unit on Klax's belongings. "Well, just be careful. Don't let them try to cuddle you until you're absolutely sure of their intentions." Klax's skin rippled in amusement. "I'll keep a safe distance from any cuddling attempts." The following day, as the diplomatic vessel broke orbit from Zaxia Prime, Klax stood at the observation portal watching his homeworld shrink to a small blue dot. Ahead lay Earth, a planet of predators and prey, and of beings who had somehow transcended that dichotomy. Professor Glorn joined him at the viewport. "Nervous, Klax?" "Yes," Klax admitted, but also excited. I've been reviewing the footage from the observation station again, focusing on human expressions and body language during predator interactions. And what have you concluded? Klax turned all four eyes toward his mentor. That the emotion humans display when bonding with predators, they call it affection, or sometimes love, is the same emotion they show toward their own offspring and family units. They're literally treating these predators as family members. Professor Glorn's eye stalks contracted thoughtfully. A dangerous evolutionary strategy, but evidently a successful one. The question now is whether they will extend that same capacity to species from beyond their world. I believe they will, Klax said with conviction. Their entire history suggests they value connection across boundaries. It's what made them Earth's dominant species, and it may be what makes them unique in the galaxy. As Earth appeared on the long-range sensors, a blue-green sphere much like Zaxia, but with unfamiliar continents, Klax felt a new emotion stirring within him. Not just scientific curiosity, but something akin to what humans might call hope. On a planet where deadly predators became companions and natural enemies became allies, perhaps there was room for Zaxians too. Not as superior beings or inferior ones, but as partners in the greater galactic community. Klax made a final note in his neural implant as the ship began its approach to Earth. Human capacity for cross-species bonding may be their most remarkable evolutionary adaptation and the galaxy's greatest opportunity. The diplomatic mission to Earth would be remembered as a pivotal moment in galactic history. And it all began with a simple xenobiology class and the baffling observation that on Earth, the line between predator and friend was not fixed by biology, but flexible through connection, a lesson that would reshape interspecies relations throughout the known universe.